Good day, everyone, and welcome to our lecture on advanced 4D and 5D BIM, with a particular focus today on Bentley Synchro 4D Pro. I'm Maisara Rais, and I'll be guiding you today through this journey where technology meets construction management. Whether you are a future architect or a construction manager or an inspiring engineer, the session will expand your horizon in digital construction area. Okay, now let's imagine a world where buildings and infrastructure projects come to life before you start even first activity at site. Imagine if we can see the future of construction project in vivid detail, not just how it will be looks like, but also when each phase will be completed and what is the methodology will be used for delivery and how much it will cost us. How can we see all of that in a 3D environment, adding the 4D and 5D power to this one. That's the power of 4D and 5D BIM. It's a transformative approach reshaping our construction industry right now. And today we are going to dive deep into this world and we'll be occupied with one of the most powerful tools in the field with Bentley Synchro 4D, and we'll go through that in details. We'll start with the introduction and what does it mean, the 4D and 5D BIM, and what the BIM 4D BIM process, how to be looks like, how can we get that developed, what are the tools available in the market right now, and how can we select one of them, what are the selection criteria, and we'll go through a quick introduction to Bentley Synchro 4D Pro. We'll go through the interface, how to navigate through the program, understand the scheduling and the 3D model interoperability, how can we align both of them together, and what the model-based planning approach, how can we use the model directly to prepare our plan. Even if we don't have a schedule ready, we can use the model to transform that to a schedule. What is the resource means in Synchro? What are the 3D objects and the 3D object grouping means in Synchro 4D as well? What is the appearance profile? And what are the resource visualizations means? And we'll finally go through the 3D model subdivision. How can we divide the 3D object into subdivisions? And how can we add an auto matching script to auto match or auto align the 3D object to the program activity or to the cost account in the cost breakdown structure. We'll run through a demo at the end of the presentation, so we'll go through a short demo to the program after this slides. But before we move forward on this journey, let's take a moment to reflect. And let's try to understand why do we need 4D and 5D BIM? How does it change the game for construction projects? And more important, how can you, as a future professional, leverage from this technology to build more innovative, efficient, and cost-effective projects in the future? Keep these questions in your mind as we explore the depths of 4D and 5D together. But that's what we'll try to understand here. Why do we need 4D and 5D BIM in our project? So in terms of planning, in terms of project monitoring, in terms of support the conflict prevention and resolution later on, is there any claim or any delay? And we have been using the 4D a lot to run simulation and rehearsal offer for construction sequence and how the project will be delivered, especially for the high risk activity. And a lot of people in health and safety teams, they got a lot of benefit from that to avoid and reduce the site accidents. For the enabling us to move forward for the 5D in terms of how can we get the distribution of money over time. So from planning and project monitoring, which probably the most area will be benefit from the 4D and 5D development, as the planning side, you can improve the duration estimate and you can understand the sequence directly and explain the sequence of activity directly to your team, how the project will be delivered. And once you've got that, you'll start to get many people engaged in your plan and give you their feedback. And their feedback, it will be like an improvement to your project plan. And it will help you as well to avoid any missing activity or out of sequence task in the program. In terms of monitoring the project, it's very powerful to be able to monitor the project in 3D environment. It's very powerful to have a comparison between actual and planned in a 3D environment so you can see how the 3D could be tracked against the planned delivery duration. And finally, moving to digital twin. So we are looking for the asset life cycle digital twin capability, which means you start to have a replica of your asset from design, from concept to design development, to delivery, and to operation maintenance eventually at the end. Okay, how the process looks like for the 4D BIM. So let's have a look to the chart here. And from the chart, you can see the project actually starts with identifying scope. So once you got the scope of your project, you start by developing scope management. And out of this scope, you develop the work program, the delivery schedule, like what are the expected tasks to be delivered within this project and the time frame for each one of them. And the design team start to develop the design for the project and converting this design to 3D model. Once we link this 3D model objects, which is actually reflecting the scope and the work program reflecting the scope as well, once we align both of them and integrate both the 3D model and the work program activities, we deliver the baseline or the first 4D plan for this project. Once we connect that to the cloud and start to get the updates from the field, we'll start to update the baseline and we'll have another update to compare our baseline with the actual updates. And we can have a comparison between our actual versus planned and track the project performance. When we got the 3D model objects, we would be able, once we got the design, we'll be able to get the quantity or the model-based quantity of the QTO, and the QTO here representing the quantity out of this design and the cost associated with this coming from the unit rate for this quantity multiplied by the quantity and give us the estimate budget or the cost estimate for the project. Once we align that with our 3D model and with our 4D, we'll be able to get the time phase budget, and time phase budget representing how we are going to spend the money on this project over the project life cycle. And once we got this time phase budget, so we will get the distribution, how we're going to spend the money. It might be like an S-curve, it might be like a bell shape. It depends on how the project estimate looks like. We will be able to get the monthly update on how much you are spending on this project, how much you are delivering in this project as it progress, and we'll start to get the performance tracking in terms of time and money, both of them together at the same time. And we would be able to represent that in a 4D environment as well. So this connection here between the work program, the 3D model object, the quantity, and the unit rate to form the the baseline cost estimate. That's transforming our static model, our static 3D model, into a dynamic, time-sensitive, and cost-aware project management tool, allowing us to use this tool in further development. And that's where tools like Synchro Pro allowing us and Shining, allowing us to assign start and end date, relationship, and resources to each activity, and creating living and breathing 3D and 4D and 5D model. So in this case, each element in our 3D model here, it's more than just a geometry. It's time and cost carrier. That's not necessarily be like in a 3D model itself, and we will run a demo by end of this presentation to see how this link and connection could be created, and converting the 3D model to be a tool helps us to identify any potential cost overrun and scheduling conflict early in the process, and allowing us to be more proactive in the management rather than reactive firefighting, if you know what I mean. And now let's have a look quickly at where are the 4D and 5D BIM located in the complete BIM development process, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, whatever, how it will be named. But we would say, like, start with local operation stage. That's when you have the data developed in 2D drawings only. We are not at this stage so far. We moved further to the partial collaboration, where we have a common data environment used to connect all of the information data together, and 2D and 3D files are in use. And we are somewhere here in the middle between the partial collaboration to full collaboration. When the 3D model is used to produce data, most of the project using that and doing that right now. We have a common file format in use, like IFC format. It's in use as an open BIM format. So, and we develop the 4D and 5D for our 3D model. The full integration stage, and that's where we are in transition period right now in general in the market, and that's where we can have the full integration between the operation maintenance information to the model information, and the model basically shared via cloud-based environment, and anyone's project can access and add information, and it's enabling the facility management to be able to use the model in their operation maintenance plan. This includes not only the operation maintenance by itself, but include cost data and allowing cost estimate and asset management for efficient building operation and maintenance. There are a lot of benefit of the full integration. So like the full integration optimize the entire building life cycle from end to end, and support our design and construction operation, and promoting sustainability and cost efficient and cost control programs. Okay, what are the tools available in the market? It's a very important question. Which tool should I use in my project? There are a few tools in the market developing the 4D and 5D BIM. Which one should I select? Let's go through what are the famous ones now in the market. Okay, starting from Naviswork, the most one used for 4D, Synchro Pro is probably like the most one used in construction stage for the 4D. Further, it's emerging right now, and Power Project is stable for a long time, and I'll explain what the benefit or what the advantages for each one of them. So Navis work for a long time have been very well known as a design stage for clash detection, for integrating the other models from Autodesk product in one model and federate the model in one model. And it's developing a very well 4D model as well, integrating the time and mod and 3D objects in one model, but it's lacking into the project control capability and advanced planning capability. So when we are trying to get this 4D into further development, Navisworks not really supporting us to do that. Well, it's very good at the early design stage to find out the sequence, how it will be looks like, but when it go to further development or to the detailed stage and construction stage, Navisworks not really supporting this capability and this function. Alice, it's very well known for their AI capability and how can you use the historical information. It's in a very early stage of development, promising, but at the moment it's not yet there, but it's very good. Maybe in the future might be very good. Further, it's emerging right now. They got a very good function and capability into visualization, animation, exporting, and easy use 4D. However, they are also lacking into the project control functioning capability. Power Project, the other way around, it's very well known as a planning and scheduling tool, and they start to add the 3D model functions to their program as well, and allowing to link and connect between the program and task and activities, but it's lacking into the 3D modeling functions into the program. So you have an advanced tool for project control, but it's lacking into the supporting of the 3D model. And I'll explain the demo as well, how that or what that means. Excel, very well known for their costing function and capability. They are adding 4D as well to their environment. Synchro, the advantage of use Synchro is its capability for both 3D modeling and advanced planning and project control and costing functions as well. So I'll say like Synchro, and that's why we're going to run or go through Synchro in this presentation. It's actually like a middle tool having most of the functions and capability from all of the others in one environment and one platform. So what are the main selection criteria? Let's here like the main one and the detailed one. So the main criteria, start to ask yourself this few questions. What are the project requirements? Why do I need this 4D for? Is it just for early design simulation and it won't be required for design? So I might select like an easy tool to be used and develop a high level 4D. Is it for construction? So I need like a specific tool and advanced tool for project control and planning capability. Once you answer this question, you can start looking for what are the integration capabilities for this tool. Can I integrate different models? Can I integrate the outcome from this tool into another program? What are the limitations of the integration from and into this tool? The user interface of this tool and how easy it to use for regular users. Costing and licensing as well. If it's expensive, very expensive, no, yes. Are they providing support and training? Yes, no. It's a very important question to ask. Is there community and ecosystem so I can find another users can share questions and share experience and get their experience as well for implementation. The detailed one is going through the detailed functions and capabilities. So once you got the main selection criteria here, you might end up with one or two tools giving you the requirements for your project with integration with the user interface and all of this question. The detailed one is going through the navigation and selecting in this model. Can I easily navigate and select objects? Can I do the interoperability easy between the 3D model and schedule? What are the planning capabilities there? How the user interface looks like, reporting, animation and export the animation, how the report will be looks like, and the animation, how the animation will be looks like. Intelligence and scripts, if I can develop like automation, auto matching, create rules, workflow, and work group support, supporting many people to work in one file through cloud. It's very important function and capability right now to have. Is there a clash detection function there or not? Is it connected to database? Can I connect the program database, the schedule database directly to my 4D? So whenever the program or the plan changed or updated, that will be reflected in my 4D. If there are resources and cost loading capability and functions there or not. Can I write script, which is similar to the intelligent and auto matching, and the ability to use the ER and VR and digital twin advancement. Okay, as today we will go through Synchro and Synchro Pro, Synchro Control, and different Synchro products and how it's work, how they are working together. What does it mean when we say we are going to use Synchro in our project? Which Synchro we'll use? How they are connected? Do we need all of them or one of them only? So again, we'll back to the question on the project requirement. What do you need this for? But let's look or go through the complete process and complete chart for all Synchro products. And it will be up to you when you are working on the project to choose which one of this you need and which one might not be required at all. So we'll start with having the program, and in Synchro it's supporting different format and different program from scheduling perspective and planning perspective. So you can import the program in Primavera format, in Microsoft Projects format, in Synchro scheduling format, in Power Project, in Excel sheet or XML if you want. And I'll say most of the scheduling and the planning tool supporting XML. So if you got XML file, it's very easy to import that to Synchro 4D Pro, which is the first tool in the Synchro products we'll go through and we'll explain now. And it's the main one, by the way, it's the main platform. And 3D model, it's supporting many 3D model format, and I'll explain that in a minute, which format supported from the 3D model. It's Revit, from Bentley MicroStation, Navisworks, AutoCAD, DWG, many formats supported through the 3D modeling. So you can import the 3D model and the program post to the integration platform, which is Synchro 4D Pro, the first one. So the Synchro 4D Pro is the one for the 4D planning. It's integrating the activity with the model elements, and that's where we are doing most of the work. Most of the work will be running and done here, and it could be just enough to have Synchro 4D Pro in your ecosystem. So you don't really need the rest. You can just export that into the animation and have your 4D model developed in this platform. But if you need to take your model further to another development and to another environment, so you'll take that and share that through Synchro Control. And Synchro Control, it's a cloud-based environment allowing us to share the 4D model for another users to access the model and add their contribution to the team at the site as a field to update the progress and share this progress with the plan or the 4D plan, the initial one initiated in the Synchro 4D Pro. And it's allowing the project managers to go through the Synchro control to check the dashboard progress and find out where the project, how the project is performing, where we are at the moment. And it's connected to the other tool as well. So Synchro Pro, Synchro Control 1, the dashboarding where the project manager can check the progress. There's another small tool. It could be downloaded in your phone, iPhone or Android. It works with both of them, and it's called Synchro Field. And this Synchro Field connected to the Synchro Control. You can collect the pictures, update, progress, item, elements, update all of them, update progress, and share that through control, and that's updating and synchronize it to Synchro 4D. There's a small tool here. It's a free tool, and I think Bentley kept this one at the moment, but it won't be supported or developed later in the future. They rely more and more in Synchro control. But this Synchro Open Viewer here, it's desktop application where you can share the actual file from Synchro Pro to anyone so they can just run the simulation. But you still have the capability to export that in MP4 as a video and share that with them. But here they will be able to open the actual Synchro 4D file in an Open Viewer desktop application. However, Bentley actually they are not supporting this anymore, and it might be redundant in the next 2 or 3 years, and they rely more and more in sharing the file through the cloud environment rather than exporting files and share that through emails or send the actual file. It will be only cloud-based files. Synchro control as well, the cloud one could be connected directly to Power BI, so you can present the progress and have different analysis in your information shared through Synchro control. You have the XR, and the XR I think won't be supported as well moving forward from Bentley. It's for the VR and AR capability, so you can have the visualization and running that remotely. There is a small tool here. It's called Synchro Modeler. It's very important to know about it. It's supporting the linear project like roads, bridges, and any other kind of linear project to have a quant takeoff directly out of this model. So this how the last one here, it's not really Synchro, but it's Lumina RT, and the Lumina RT allowing you to have like a reality model like in a gaming engine, so you can have a high resolution and a very good visualization of your 4D plan. So that's how the ecosystem looks like for Synchro in general, from the program 3D model integration to the main platform for development, and the cloud-based for sharing, and the field application to collect the information, and the cloud-based to access and go through the dashboard and review the progress. So how the Synchro Pro looks like, what is the interface of Synchro Pro looks like? If we look to the slide here, which is explaining how Synchro Pro looks like for the 4D, and the one we are looking for now, it's the one for the main development, the one we explained as the platform for the linking and integration between schedule and 3D model. It's divided into 5 sections. So the top section here is the main taskbar, and that's where you can access the icon and find the different function for the program. The left-hand side here section for the 3D object and resources and cost hierarchy, and I'll explain in a minute what are this means. What are the 3D objects and the cost and the resources. What are the difference between 3D object and resources, and how Synchro use resources to be mapped to the 3D object and link them to the task and activity. In the middle section here, the Gantt chart area, which is the traditional one coming from the traditional program, representing the task and activities, and the Gantt chart for each one of them. And we'll explain that as well in the demo. The top side in the middle section for the 3D model window, and I'll explain to you how can you open more windows for the 3D model so you can have 2 or 3 of them to run a comparison between them. In the right hand side section, the schedule, cost, and 3D object properties. So actually it's representing the metadata and information for the tasks and for the objects here. So if you want to know the metadata, and it's basically more than like read-only information. Some of them might be edited, but mostly you can read the metadata of the 3D objects and the tasks in this section here. But there's some of them where you can edit as well. Okay, once we go to the demo, I'll explain that further, but if you look to the program itself and go to the file and try to import, from here we are trying just to understand what are the scheduling and 3D model interoperability function into Synchro 4D Pro. So in terms of scheduling function, as the project is not active here, you just need the plugin to be installed in your program to be active. But there's the first one supported by Synchro Pro. Primavera P6 supported, which is the main one used in the market for planning, followed by Microsoft Project XML, the second main one used in the market for planning and scheduling. And there's another couple of tools for planning as well, Safran Project and BMA one for planning and scheduling. In terms of and supporting the import as well as a Microsoft Excel file, as I mentioned earlier. In terms of the 3D modeling, you have the capability or the function to import the IFC format, the open format for most of the BIM files, or you can import your file from the 3D model or the 3D tab. In the 3D tab, it's opening to you more than 40 different formats from DWG, DXF, DGN, the one from MicroStation, or the Bentley iModel, or 3D Max file, or 3ds file. So there are many 3D modeling formats supported here, and you can import them directly to your Synchro 4D Pro. From Revit, there is a plugin allowing you to export from Revit to Synchro project, and you'll import that as a Synchro project file from this tab. But the plugin is very easy to use. Once you install that in your computer and in your Revit, it will just export the model into the Synchro format and import that to your model. So I spoke earlier about the difference between resources and 3D object and resources group. Uh, I'll explain that here before we'll go to the demo because it's fundamental one to understand how Synchro work and how to work with the program in the 4D environment later in the future. When you import your 3D model, it's come under the 3D objects. Synchro will ask you when you're importing that, how do you want to create the resources? So the resources here is like a mask of your 3D objects. Each 3D object represented here in a different way as a resource, and you are assigning these resources to the task in the program. So you're not actually assigning the 3D object in Synchro to the task, you're assigning the resources to the task. And that's giving you another layer within your 3D object because it's very common to have many 3D objects in one task, correct? So all of these files, for instance, it will be one task in the program as file construction or as by line item. So you can have all of them under one resource and assign this resource to the to this particular task. And it could be the other way around as well. You can divide one object into different sections and have them under different 3D objects items and map them to resources and assign them to the different tasks. So if we have like 3 line items, which is the other way around from the previous example. So if you have the 3 line items for one floor or one slab, and in the model it's one object or one line or one item only, so we can subdivide that into Synchro, and I'll explain that as well. How can you subdivide that into different three different sections to assign each section to the different line item in the program? And eventually you'll have resources group. Once you got the resources here created, and I'll explain what are the different ways to create resources in your Synchro Pro. But once you create the resources, you can group them into different groups. So let's say we have piles, but these piles actually will be into 2 sections or 2 groups. The first section here will be installed first and followed by the second section. So I can have 2 groups, one for BIOS group 1 and BIOS group 2. And the powerful or the power of using a resources group here, that you would be able to assign this group to a person by their email, and when they access that through the field application, they will get the tasks assigned to them directly by their name. Resources here, the last one to explain or to mention here about resources. In Synchro, they have 4 different kind of resources: material, human, equipment, and location resources. So these are the 4 different type of resources in Synchro. Okay, now let's have a look into what are the resources mean in Synchro Pro and what are the 3D objects means on that. So when we have a 3D objects imported in the 3D model, they are just 3D representation, 3D geometry that can be viewed and manipulated in the 3D view. Yeah, that's correct. But in order for this 3D geometry to be linked to the project schedule, they must be assigned to resources. And again, there are 4 different types of resources in Synchro. As I explained earlier, it's either equipment or human, location or material. Resources could be created in Synchro without having 3D representation, but the 3D representation must have resource to be assigned to a task. Okay. What that means, let's have a look to this example, and through the demo we'll go through that more explanation, more details as well. But let's understand the concept before go to the demo. We have four different options for the resources. So the first one here, so all of them you are having a 3D model or the 3D object and you're importing them to Synchro, and the program will ask you how do you want to create or to assign the resources to this one. So the first type, it's called assign to 3D resource but not build a tree. So what does that mean? That means assign to this resource, create a single resource in which multiply objects are grouped when imported, one or multiply 3D files could be like if you import multiply 3D file and assign all of them to one resource. In this example of the crane, if you choose to assign this resource and don't build tree, all the 5 elements here, can see element 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they will all be grouped under and all be assigned to one resource called tower crane. So all of these 5 different 3D objects will be represented under one resource called tower crane without a tree. So what's the second option? So the second option, you are adding resource underneath but don't build a tree. So what that means? That means create one resource for each file to which any part are combined within each 3D file name. So for example, with the same crane, when we are importing 1 to 5, so we have 1, 2, 3, 5, so it will be imported as tower crane resource number 1, tower crane resource number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and there is no link or tree connecting all of them. That will be each one under each individual resource. So in this two or the first two resource type, we are importing the 3D object and we are not building a tree out of this. There is no hierarchy in the resource, says this all under crane. The first one, we import all of them as a one element only. Second one, we import them as a 5 different resources under 5 different elements. So what is the third option? So the third option is assign to this resource and build a tree. So what that mean? When we importing multiply 3D file, the tree structure will be merged. So what that mean? If we choose this option in the crane example we got, so Synchro will import the files from 1 to 5 and from 1 to 5 here and create a tree of them. So what you'll have a similar one to the first one. So it will be assigned to 3D resource like as a one element, but under this tower crane, you'll have the tree for this tower crane. And this tree could be detailed not only to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but will be detailed to each small element into section 1 and each small element in section 2 and 3 and so on. So the fourth option, the last one, it's similar to option number 2 here, but it's building a tree. So we are assigning them to 1, 2, 3, 4, not as one tower crane. So it will be under 1, 2, 3, 4, and building a tree under each one of them. So under section 1, you'll have the tree for section 1. Under section 2, you'll have the tree for section 2. So we can see here metal part, part number 1, part number 2, part number A1, part number A2, part number A3, or 3A, 3B, 3C, and so on. So that's building a tree out of this objects here. Then it's giving us flexibility. In the last option, the option number 4 here, it could build a tree up to 6 levels. So you can have 6 levels of hierarchy under this one. And if you have a look to the previous slide, you can see that clearly here. And in this example here, I created the 3D object with the tree according to the option number 4. And in the screen here, you can see how the hierarchy looks like in the 3D object or the 3D model structure, and how the hierarchy looks like in the resources as well, and each element here assigned or mapped to a 3D resource exactly. One more function I want to explain before we go to the demo in Synchro 4D Pro, where you can divide one object or one element into different subdivisions. There are 4 different options. You can slide that, or you can do the freehand or user slice, and I'll explain that in the demo. How can you define the criteria for your subdivisions, or how can you do that as a freehand division, and how that will be created under 3D object and the resources as well, and start to assign them to your program. In addition to that, I'll touch base here quickly on the appearance profile and the resource stats and what that means in Synchro, and we'll see that in the demo, what that means for both of them. But the appearance profile, it could be customized, or you can use the built-in one, or you can have your own template for what the appearance profile. So the appearance profile, it's giving each discipline or each group of objects one color. So you can have the mechanical elements in a color, you can have the electrical in different color, fire objects in one color, structure in one different color, and it's giving you control over what is the start appearance will be looks like. So when you start as a 4D, how this objects will be looks like, and active appearance, so when they are under construction. So if they are like installed item, a new installed item, so it won't be there at all, so it won't be at the start appearance. But how do you want this object to be looks like when it's active, when it's under construction? You can choose different color, different mode, different transparency for each one of them, so you can present or visualize the electrical conduits under installation in transparency to be able to see what's happening in the background as well. And what is the growth simulation, which is very important one. How do you want the growth simulation to be looks like? Do you want this to be coming from right to left, or from left to right, or from bottom to up, or from top to down? How do you want the growth simulation to? It could be actually like as well like horizontal one, like a vertical, like in a different direction. And I'll explain that in a demo how that could be customized and how the end appearance will be looks like. Usually we are leaving the end appearance to the original color. So once the object installed, it will take the original color as it's colored from the material in the 3D model. So once under installation, it will take like green, yellow, orange, any different color. And once finished and installed, it will return back to the material, to the original material color. We might have start appearance for like remove item, or if we have like a demolition item, so it will be existing there, but will be demolished, or it could be maintained item, so it will be there and we will keep this item there. So we'll have start appearance here. There is another color mode. It's called resource status. So it's giving us different color for the objects when they are in progress or when they are completed. So if we need just to run a comparison between the objects based on resources status, so it will show us directly which objects are completed, which objects are in progress in different color, and we can have different color for each different step as well. Another function here I want to explain quickly before we go to the demo is the auto matching. How can we create a rule to auto match between a task and the 3D object? So in the example here in the screenshot, it's rule asking the program, when you got name exactly similar to the name in the program, exactly similar to the name in the 3D model, link and connect both of them together. So if you got here column 1A, and in the 3D model, it's called the same name exactly, column 1A. So the program will connect and link both of them directly, which is crucial and very important to have like a common structure between the modelers working in the modeling and the scheduler and the cost estimator. So to have a common between them. It could be a name, it could be an ID. I'll go through that in details in the demo. It's not only the name where we can auto match or link between them or create a rule based, but there are a few other functions as well we can use, or a few other attributes we can use to connect. And finally, I'll explain what is the model-based planning means, and how the model-based planning could be run and could be done. The model-based planning is a powerful function in Synchro. So it's allowing you to select the objects in the 3D model as a resources. And once you right click on that and you request the program to create task out of this, so it will ask you, how do you want to create this task? Do you want to create a hierarchy? So it will create like individual line item for each pile here, the one I selected, or do you want to create all of them under one line item? And this example here, I create all of them under one line item. So all of them have been created from the model directly. So the schedule here in this example developed from the model directly as a line item, and it's connected. It's linked directly to this one. And I'll go to the appearance profile to change the gross simulation. So in this case, I'll choose the piles to be installed from bottom to the top. So when I run the simulation, I'll be able to see how this line item will be created and developed in the 4D environment. Now let's go to the demo, and in the demo I'll explain the user interface, how the program looks like Synchro, how can we import the schedule and work with the schedule in Synchro, how can we import the 3D and create resources out of this 3D objects, and work with the 3D, create sections, cutting plan, and the linking process, how can we link this to the schedule, how can we create subdivisions, and how can you create a resources group, change the appearance profile, and add different 3D windows to run a comparison between actual and planned, and how can we create baseline and compare between actual and planned, and how can we finally export the animation. Let's go to the demo and see how it will go. So now let's go to the user interface in the demo, in the first section of the demo. How the program looks like, as I explained, 5 different sections, one for the taskbar, and the other one for resources and the 3D object information. In the middle, the Gantt chart. In the bottom, we'll have the 3D model and the properties in the right-hand side section. So let's go to the top one, which is allowing us to go through the taskbar. From file, the first one, that's where you are creating a new project, and you'll be able to create like a new program here. The second one, it's open, and from open you can open a private project, and the private project is the one located in your computer as a standalone file, or you can open a Synchro control project, and that's allowing you to open the file from the cloud, if you remember the ecosystem for Synchro I explained. Both are working. This one will work through cloud. This one will work from your computer as individual file. Save as and import and export, and printing when you are printing a report and you want to export this report in PDF format, for instance. Importing function, again, as I explained earlier, you import here the program and the 3D model. And if you choose the 3D, it will ask you which format you want to import the program with. So you can go to the different format and choose which format you want to select from here. Export. How do you want to export the file? There is an option here to export Primavera P6 file or to export that as Synchro project. If you export that as a P6 or Microsoft project, it will export the program only. So if we have change in the program, we will be able to export that to the other program file and synchronize both of them together. Saying that in Primavera in particular, in P6, it's a very important function here. I just want to explain. You could link to database. So if you have Oracle Primavera P6 database in cloud, you can connect that to the database directly. So your Synchro program will be synchronized to the database, or you can link to individual files, so it will be exported as XML file and link that to your 4D Synchro file. So this connection to database is an advanced tool, allowing you to have like live synchronization between them. So the taskbar here is divided between plan, and that's the different function and different capabilities and different tools allowing you to work with the schedule only. From changing the connection and relation, moving or creating a new task, changing the calendar, edit some of them in the calendar, reschedule the program, compute the critical path, check the health quality of your program, what are the risks in your program, and create a baseline and run a scenarios like a comparison and control the Gantt chart area and create a filter for the task so you can see, or you could create a filter to be able to see different tasks with a particular relation. Like if I click on that, so if I want to create a filter for 1 week look ahead, so it will create a filter for the 1 week activities only, or 2 weeks, or you can just right click and right click on the space here and add a new filter, add a task filter, and from here you can select what are the criteria you want to add. So I want to create a filter with a name. So what is the name? I'll mention here the name to include let's say beams. So any task with beam or beam in the name of this task, it will be filtered out. In the 3D tab here, that's where you can work with the 3D objects and create like a box. So you can create a box here directly and work with this box in the 3D environment, give it a name. So it's allowing you to create a few 3D shapes here if you need it, if it's not there in the original model. It's not commonly used unless you want to add like a zone, specific zone in the 4D for like an equipment movement or something like that. Here the transformation and transform the 3D model, so you can manipulate the 3D model object or to rotate the item. It's heavily used with the equipment. So when we want to move the equipment around the path and transform the direction for this equipment, we are using the manipulator here to do that. Or if you got like a rotating object on site during the installation or something like that. Subdivide here, that's where we can subdivide, and I'll run example to see how can we subdivide that, the objects. You can enable snapping from here as well. The 3D path here, it's used for the movement objects. So if we have objects will be moved, crane, moving object for installation. So we have to create a 3D path for this object to move along with this one. Cutting plane, that's how can we create a section. So you can create a section for in the 3D different directions, or you can create one as a box section. There is another filter as well, could be created similar to the task filter, but for the 3D object. So you can create a new filter and add a filter here and filter the 3D objects by different criteria. You can use the same, so you can include like a beam. So in this case, I would be able to create a filter for the task and filter out the beam activities, and in the 3D model, filter out the beams objects as well. Load and unload, I'll explain that when we go to the demo, so you can load and unload the objects to free the memory and get the file easier to use. The new window here, it's very important one. I explained earlier, like when you want to have 2 different windows, 3 different windows, you can just create the window. And just remember that if you click on the top here and start moving this slowly, it will ask you where do you want to locate this one. So I can locate this one next to this window, and I'll move this one to be next to them. So I'll have 3 different windows here for the 3D elements. And when I right click here on the window, on the 3D window, the new one I created or the original one, I have the option here to choose which date I want to use here. So I'll use here the best date. And in the second one, I'll change the date to be the actual. And in the third one, I'll change the date to be the planned date. So the planned date here, it will run a comparison between the 3D model in the 4D environment when it's running between the planned and the actual and the best dates for them. And I can have a comparison between all of the 3D models in 4D environment. So the one here in the middle, it's for assigning resources, and it's very important one for working in the 3D and the plan. So we touch base here with 3D function with the schedule capabilities. The assigning resource here, it's allowing you to create like the appearance profile. As I explained earlier, you can add a new profile, or you can use this one. So for the installation here, when a new item installed will be colored in green, and the growth here, I'll choose that from bottom to top. I could change the direction, so it could be in any different direction. And you can just select that to be paused in non-working time. And when it's finished, it will be returned to the original color. You can change the transparency. If I select here original transparency, it will be similar to the original item transparency, or I can change the transparency to be 50% transparent, for instance. The auto matching functions are listed here, and we'll go through that when we go to file, and we'll go through how can we use this assign resources function. Just very important to know where it's located now. How we are going to use them, I'll explain that in the next steps. For the review, finally, how to play a particular focus time, play the animation, what's the speed of your play, how can you go forward and backward in your 4D play, and if you want to add footnotes and save viewpoints for different people, so you can save the viewpoints for them, so they don't have to rotate the model when they want to visualize a particular area. Export the animation, and the animation editor will go through that as well in the animation section. And again, you can add a new 3D from here if it's required, and you can take some measurement. You can create a layout for export, for your report export. Project control, it's an advanced function for project controls. It's allowing you to have a few monitoring capabilities here to run a comparison between the resource status, the percentage, create the earned value graph as well, and have more control over the risk. In the resources one, you can have the usage of the resources graph and export that in a spreadsheet, and export that by resource usage or task usage for resources. You can run a comparison between two different schedules to find out how they looks like. and you'll have a dynamic clash detection, and this dynamic clash detection giving you if during the installation you have two objects clashing together at the same time. User field and Synchro script, that's where you can create different scripts here to create different function and do different automation. It's an advanced function here with the user field, and we'll explain that briefly at the end. Reports, how to export and print different reports for the 4D, for the usage, for the schedule, for Excel, to export in Excel, or how to print in PDF from your 4D function. Windows, to turn on and turn off the windows here, and like if you want to add more windows, play around, move some of them around, similar to what I'm doing now, to suit your usage, just feel free to do that. And you might create a mess and you want back again to how it was looks like initially. You can just go to reset placement, and that will reset the views to the original one. So if I go down here to the resources, you'll have the resources, the resource group, the 3D objects will be listed here. The tasks will be listed here from the program. 3D model will be located here. And in this section, you'll have the task properties. And the task properties allow you to go through the properties for each line item. You can have the budget, how to be looks like for each line item as well, and different calculation for the cost, and you'll have the earned value graph as well listed here, and you can visualize the earned value graph in the bottom. If I go to the earned value graph and open that, the earned value graph will be presented here in this window. Now let's go to import schedule as a first step. So we got the program. We know how it looks like now as a user interface. We want to import the schedule. So let's go to File, Import, and we got the XML file. So I'll go to import XML. I got here one file for the training. I will import this one. So select this one. It's an XML. Go to Open. So the program will start asking me a few questions. So in this few questions here, how would you like to import this file? I'll append the dates to the end of the current project and reframe Gantt chart to show imported data, or can say not. The most important section is this question. Choose how you would like to process each object. So it's asking you here what kind of information you want to bring from your program. If there cost associated in your program, it will be imported, or you can skip. So if you skip, the cost information will be skipped. Calendar, I want to import the calendar. Resources, if they are there, I import them. Activity code assignment, user field. So here I choose to import all of the information by default. But when you are importing like an extension program or a new program as an update, you might have or need to change some of them and just choose calendar only, for instance, or cost only. So I got change and update in the cost, so I don't have to change or to update any of the other information, but I will skip all and I will import only the the cost information, and in the cost information it's required to import this line item here. So I'll import the cost information with the task. So that's importing the cost information only. I'll go back to default again, and I'll click import, start importing, and once finished, hit finish, and now you got your program imported. In the program section, you have the task area and the Gantt chart area. So in the task area, if you go to the top bar, let's expand this a little so you can see it. So a few columns here, the name of the task, the duration, start date and finish date, and the 3D resource. So once we got an assignment from the 3D model to this tasks, you will find the 3D resource ID listed here. And we'll see that in the next step when we go to the linking activities. But in the top section here, if you right click in this gray area and go to customize columns, and if you have more information in your program, or if you got more information like cost information, for instance, so let's say I got the cost information, the budget associated with one as a total budget, and I want to see this budget here as a line item. So I want to see the baseline budget direct cost or budget direct cost or any other budget line item. So I'll just click on the line and move this line item to the selected column area from the available column area and click OK. So I'll get a new column here for the budget line item. And again, you got few columns. You might need to select one of them and get this one presented at some point of time. Physical quantity, you can check the quantity for the lines once we align or assign the 3D object to this one, or if we got this information already in the model in the schedule. So in the right hand side area where the Gantt chart located, if I scroll my mouse scroller in or out, that will zoom in and zoom out. So if I keep zooming in, you'll notice the change in the time scale on the top. And if I right click here again, you can either edit the time scale or you can edit the focus time and edit data date. So data date, it's the updated date for the information. Time scale, it's how it sees time scale here. The focus time, I'll explain this focus time here and how it's represented. So the focus time, it tells you where you are looking now in the 4D environment. And it's always represented by this red line. So you can see how this focus time changing when I'm moving this red line. So this focus time start now to move, and where the data date, it's always in the blue line. So if I move this back, so now both of them are the same date, but if I move this line here, the data date not changed, but the focus time, it will be changed once we got the 3D model. So we'll be able to see how the 4D looks like when we are moving the focus line here. Okay, now let's go to the importing the 3D and how can we import the 3D files. We went through the program, we went through the plan. So let's now bring the 3D model in. So if I go to import and choose a 3D, and I'll go to the model. Again, like here, you'll be able to see like the different formats we can import. There are more than 40 different 3D formats we could import to our 4D environment. I'll go to the model, got here a few files for training purpose, for architectural, electrical, excavator, landscape, plumbing, site, and structure. Let's start. Could just like get them one by one or get all of them together, but let's get the structure first, for instance, and have a look how it will be looks like. Again, to start asking you a few questions when you import the 3D. How do you want the measurement unit to be read the measurement unit or not? the 3D format, choose if you want to read the 3D text annotation or not. I'll choose not here. Process user field, yes. Ignore hidden 3D objects, yes, I'll ignore it. Ignore the wireframe 3D objects, so I don't have like busy and noisy 3D model. I'll ignore that one. Load them into the memory, and I'll explain how to load and unload them. It's very easy, but yeah, let's see. Add 3D object to active 3D filter, so it will create like a filter, or it will be create as a filter. What the 3 levels limitation? If we select or if we choose to create a tree for these resources, if we go back to the explanation of how can you create the resources. So what the tree level you want, you can choose up to 2, up to 3. The maximum here is 6, so you can choose 6, or you can keep it 0, and 0 is unlimited. So 0 here, it will take the limit in the model and create exactly the same hierarchy and same tree. But if you choose 2 here, and I got in the 3D model 4 different levels, it will shorten that to 2 levels only. I'll keep it 0 for unlimited. And what else you want? SKB format, I'll keep it as it, will not change as the default. Here, I'll go to next. Okay, here it's very important when you're importing the 3D. How do you want this to be located? So you can choose a point and locate all of them to a particular point. You can change the scale. You could rotate this one to be rotated around the axis. However, I won't choose any of these ones here because I got all of my model with the same coordinate point, so they are all federated and having same share coordinate points. So if I import this one now, it will ask me a question, what are the resources assignment to this one? If I choose no assignment, it will import them as a 3D object with no resources, and I don't want that to be happen. I want to assign them to resources to be able to assign that to our program. So if I go to next, so what's the name of this resource and what's the type of resource? Are they equipment? No, they are not equipment. They are not human. They are not location resource. They are material because it's structure elements. And I'll name this structure model. So I'll keep it as name as a structure name. So what are the level of assignment and how do you want to assign the resources? Usually I'm using the fourth option. Add resource underneath and build tree, so I'll have more details in this one. I might choose the first one if I'm importing equipment, but here I'm importing objects for the structure discipline, so I need the hierarchy to be imported similar to the one created in the model. I'll keep 0 for unlimited and go to next. Oh, okay. So it's giving me a warning here. It's telling me there is duplication in the name in the 3D file. So there's 2 elements in the 3D file named with the same name, duplicated, which might cause a problem. But if I'm selecting the auto matching tool, for instance, so it will be confusing which one should be selected. So yeah, just warning. Hit finish. I got now the 3D model for the structure element import to my 4D environment. Let's go to another model quickly. 3D. Let's have the architectural one as well. I'll just go to next, 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 and yeah. When I'm assigning that, it will ask me if I want to assign that to existing resource. It's an architectural model, so I don't want to assign that to structure. But if I got a new structure element and I want to import them, I might assign that to existing resource. And I'll keep the name as architecture model. It's material and same hierarchy. There's a double of elements here duplicated. So a couple of elements duplicated, finish. So I got now the architectural model and the structural model, both of them together in the 4D environment. So how can I work with this model here? So in the 3D environment here, if you just click on your mouse and rotate the mouse, it will rotate the model. If you scroll in, scroll back, it's zooming in and zooming out. Selection is very important. So if I want to select, just click in the object, it will select the object. And if I want to clear the selection, I have to click on escape button on my keyboard. But if I want to keep selecting, I will keep adding to the original selection. So I could start to select few objects here. Okay, so if I want to do a group selection from the object, I want to select all the piles together. So in this case, I have to click on my mouse, click on Control at the same time, and start to create a window. And when I created this window, it's selecting every element within this window. And here it selected all the piles together, for instance. So just clear selection. So let's have a look on the 3D model and resources, how they are looks like now. So we got the 3D objects, and it's created under the hierarchy for architectural, structural model. And I got the same hierarchy from the structure model under column, floor, roof, structure column, structure foundation, structure framing, and walls. And I got the same hierarchy for the basic wall, grade beam wall, and the basic wall types, a different type. And if I click on any of them, it will be selected in the model, and you can see that in purple. If I want to unload these elements from the model for any reason, like it could be a temporary unload, I don't want to delete them, I just want to unload them for a temporary purpose. But let's say like I just want the columns only, I don't want to see any other elements, so I just unload all of the other elements and unload the architectural model. So what I'm seeing here is the structural columns from the model only. So these are the structural columns in the model. If you want to see the floors only, so these are the floors in the model. Roofs only. There is another structure column for level 1, structure foundation, structure framing. So I can load and unload the elements as much as I want, or I can load all of them. There's an option to do the same for the architectural model as well. So let's go to the resources, how the resources are created as a material. We'll find here that they are created exactly the same, architecture representing the architectural model, and it's taking the same hierarchy exactly, and the structural taking the same hierarchy exactly for the from the structural model. Okay, so how can I create a resources group? So as I mentioned, if you got like two groups of piles, and I want these piles to be under one group. So I select these piles together, and I would say this group 1, and right click on the piles, the one I created, and go to resource groups and create resource group from selected, and this pile group A, and okay. So if I go to resource group here and clear the selection and select this one, you'll find this coming out with the group as I created. So one of the most important functions here is how to work with the resources and how to work with the 3D objects and how to work with the groups of all of them as well. So if I right click here and customize the column, it's similar to the schedule area, what's allowing you to add the quantities, the unit, the lead time required for each one of them. It's allowing you to add the cost as well and the cost type. I got the cost and cost type. I'll be able to get both of them. And if I go to any of these elements, and in the cost type, you can select what is the cost type. If it's fixed, hourly cost, hourly, let's expand this a little. So it's either hourly partial or hourly complete, or daily or per unit. So if I select per unit, it will be per cost per unit for the quantity from the quantity, and you can add the cost and change the cost for this basic wall here. For instance, that will be costing you $1,000 per unit, for instance. So if we got the quantity and we got the quantity from the model here, so it will calculate this for, let's put it like 250 per unit from the basic wall quantities. Again, if you right click, customize column, with a few other function and capabilities you can add here. It's same for resource group as well. If I right click here, it will allow you to add more function. So as I mentioned, if you add this as an assignment and go to general, email, personal, foreman, for instance, or superintendent, could add this to work package. So if you have different work package, so I'll add this group to work package or to the particular code or to a particular contractor, and okay. So the resource here is coming from this resource email. Once I add the email account for the foreman, and I got the foreman name and their email, and you want to access that through the cloud, you'll be able to access the tasks assigned to them, which is by group A here, assigned to them, or I can add the superintendent as well, superintendent, that one as well. You can add the contractor name. If you got the contractor name listed, I'll split the task between different contractors. 3D objects is not different, so you can have different function under the 3D objects to add further columns. GUID, it's the GUID one for this object. It's named and came from the native file. So if I'm using Revit file, so this GUID will be exactly the same GUID in Revit file. Finally, if I go to the 3D area and the 3D space here and right click, in the right click here, there's a few different functions. In zoom all, it's very important. So if you lost your direction at any point of time and you want to go back to zoom all and everything in the model, just zoom all. Or you can create a viewpoint and go back to the viewpoint you created. Can have filter here to isolate the selected item. So if I got item selected and I want to isolate this item only, I'll be able to isolate the item or hide the selected one. Or I can filter the critical path objects only and see how the project critical path will be looks like in the 3D environment. A few different functions here for assignment, how to assign from this one, and we'll go through them in the assignment section. Okay, now let's go to how can we link the 3D object to the schedule. Let's take off the landscape, keep the maybe structural model only. And in the structural model here, I want to start linking the biles to the related or to the associated line item in the program. So I got a line item here, it's called structure pile, and I got the piles here. If I select one of them, it will take you to the 3D objects associated with this one. Remember that we are not actually linking the 3D objects, we are linking the resources associated with that. So we'll go to resource, and we have the piles here selected. Okay, in the 3D resource section next to structure piles, there is nothing actually associated with this one. It's very easy to do the linking and connection. Few options. You can just right click on the 3D object and assign to selected task, or you can use Control Shift A. So when you're doing that, it will linking all of them together. So if I click on this one here, so it linked this piles to this structural piles task. I'll undo that, redo it again in a different way. You can go to the task, right click on the task itself and assign selected resource. It will do exactly the same and assign all of these resources to the task. So you can do the assignment either from the 3D model or from the program directly. I'll undo that again, and there is another way to do the assignment. It's quite easy. Just select all of them, go to the resource, and drag and drop this to the line item. So now the 205 piles here associated with the structural line item. If I change the focus time, it will show you the exact time in the 4D. So before this date in February, there is no piles. After that date, the piles will start to show up. And when it's under installation, it will be colored in green. Once finished, to return back to the concrete material color. The reason why we see the other structural element now in the window, because they are not assigned to tasks. Once assigned, it will be disappeared, and it will be only appeared when the linked activity is running. So the one we need to change after, or actually should be before, but it's okay. If the one we need to change now is appearance profile. So if you go to appearance profile, the appearance profile associated with this one, it's under install, but there's no growth simulation. So let's change the growth simulation and take this from bottom up. So we'll start to see how the simulation will change to grow during the installation period of time. We can change that from top to bottom. Might make sense sometimes for some files. Right to left. Or front to back. And actually doesn't make sense at all, the front to back or right to left or the horizontal one. It's actually the growth is in vertical direction here for this one. It's very easy to link the task to the 3D objects. Subdivide, if you want to subdivide an object, let's say we are working on this top slab here and we want to divide this top slab into two different sections. I'll go just to the subdivide into the 3D model, and in the small window here you can just add the number of columns. I want to add here to be 1, so it's adding this to the slice, and if I add the user slice, it allows you to move this slice in any different area. So you can start to divide this into different sections, or you can also rotate the subdivision and have different direction for your subdivision. Now you got all of the objects linked to your schedule, and you want to export the animation. Go to the 3D object. I'll keep only the let's take the landscape out and the site. Next. Yep. And when we run the simulation, yep, that's perfect. So now we got all of the objects linked to tasks, and we want to export this as an animation. So all what we have to do is to go to 4D review, click on animation, and when the animation open, like right click and add a new animation. We'll call this ETS training 01. And in this animation, on the camera to be enabled, on the timeline to be enabled, on the 3D view properties to be enabled as well, and selected 3D view only. Yes, I want the selected 3D views. Skip non-working time. Yeah, maybe yes, maybe not. I'll keep it as an option, keep it off for now. So if I select this one to be a standard, so it will skip any holidays from the animation export. Timeline to start automatic, the timeline end date will be automatic as an end, and scales off, position automatic, that's fine. So I got now the new animation created. I have to go to the animation editor. In the animation editor, there are 3 different sections here: camera and focus time and 3D view properties. We'll explain today the camera and focus time only. So in the camera, it's where the camera is positioned in the 4D, and the focus time again is the red line here and where it's located in the program. So let's go back to the beginning of the schedule, to the early beginning of the schedule. Get the files installed. So I'll move a little ahead, a little more, just to avoid the site. Yeah, let's start from the beams. Here it is. So this is the camera. I want the camera to be like away at the beginning, and I'll zoom in. I'll add another camera after 1 second. And in the second here, on the focus time to be at this point. And I'll keep moving the focus time. So the focus time at the end of the second, number 5, will be here, but I want to keep focusing on as well. So the camera will be moved to the side, and it will be moved to the side. So if I run it now, we'll see how to be looks like. So that's how the animation will be looks like in the movement for the camera and the movement of the tasks as well. Okay, let's keep going. Second part, third part. Okay, I'll take this up to 15 seconds in terms of, I'll delete this one, but I want the camera to keep rotated around the building. So if I go back again and keep running, you see how the camera will keep rotating. And the schedule or the focus time keep evolving as well, and you'll start to see the building evolving as we go. Okay, let's take more steps. I'll just zoom out a little. I'll keep the camera open. I'll go up to 25 seconds. You can add more steps and more cameras and more focus time points in between. And when you add them, it's giving you more control over the camera movement and controlling the schedule movement as well. Just trusting this a little. So I got this animation now created. I want to export this animation, so I'll just go and right click in the UTS training number 5, number 1, and export animation. And in the export animation, it will ask you here what are the format you want to export in. Is MP4, AVI, or it could export as sequence GPG files like sequence pictures in different 3 format, PNG or PNG or GPG files. So if I export that in MP4, I'll go to the content. So what's the content you want to present in your 4D? You can just present the 4D by itself only. So I'll take off the timeline, focus time, and the Gantt chart, and I'll keep only the 4D if I want the 4D by itself only. Or I might add the focus time, so it will give us the time and duration here, and the timeline in the top, so it will add the timeline, and you can see the timeline evolving in the top of the screen with the 4D export. A few different functions here. Render the file for the rendering, what kind of render you want to use. And if you want to add shadow, if you want to use the VR set later on, you might select one of these options. The ray trace with iRay, it's adding high resolution export, but it's taking a long time to be prepared and exported. So I won't do it now. Once you finish all of this, you can add soundtrack to this one as well. You can add your logo. You can control the Gantt chart and focus time from the steps and the timeline, control how it will be presented, and you can add any other text to your export as well. When you add the text, it will come here, so you can add this to the export. Once finished, click Save and OK, and I got the same, that's fine. Re-export, so it will start to re-export this in the MP4 format, and once exported, the file will be ready.